Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I never woke up one morning thinking my marriage was falling apart. It happened slowly, almost quietly, like dust settling on furniture you stop noticing. 11 years with Lindsay, and somewhere along the line our routines became separate lives. She went to bed later, woke up earlier, talked less, smiled even less. We still shared a house, but we didn't share much else. One night, around 10:30, I walked into our bedroom and found her lying on her stomach with her phone under her chin. The screen lit up her face. She was smiling, soft, private, the kind of smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. For a second, I just watched her. Then I asked as casually as I could, "Who's keeping you up tonight?" She didn't look startled. That told me something. She just turned the phone slightly away from me and said, "Aaron from the office. He's asking about a report. Nothing interesting." Her voice sounded too light, too rehearsed, but I nodded, said, "All right," and went to shower. When I came back, the smile was gone, and so was the conversation. The phone was face down. 2 days later, she told me she'd be working late. She had used that line before, but that night her tone had a push behind it, like she needed me to believe it. She came home around midnight smelling of perfume she usually saved for dinners out. She went straight to the bathroom. I stared at her phone on the nightstand. I wasn't proud of what I did next, but I'd spent months ignoring instincts that kept getting louder. So I picked it up. There was a muted chat labeled only with the letter A. Inside were short messages, flirty lines, playful teasing, a joke about last time that she had tried to delete, the kind of conversation that didn't belong in any marriage. When Lindsay stepped out of the bathroom, wrapping her hair in a towel, I set the phone down like it burned. She looked at me. "What's wrong?" "Anything I should know?" I asked. She didn't miss a beat. "John, stop overthinking. It's harmless. Just work stuff." She said it calmly. That was the moment I knew something real had shifted between us. After that night, I stopped guessing and started watching. Nothing dramatic, no arguments, no questions, no pressure. I simply paid attention. Lindsay began going to the gym more often, even though she'd barely stepped on a treadmill in years. She bought new clothes, subtle but different, and wore a perfume she used to save for anniversaries. Her phone stayed glued to her hand. Screen always dimmed, always locked, always face down. One morning she left early, saying she needed extra time to prepare for a meeting. I watched her drive off through the window. The car turned right toward the main road, nowhere near her usual route. She didn't notice me standing there. That afternoon, I had lunch with Daniel, my oldest friend. He works in IT and doesn't waste time with sympathy. "You think she's cheating?" he asked between bites. "I think she's lying," I replied. "That's usually the same thing," he said. Then he leaned forward. "Check her cloud backup. People forget those exist. Deleted messages don't disappear if the phone was syncing." He explained how to access the shared account from my laptop. It wasn't complicated, just something I'd never needed to do before. That night, after Lindsay fell asleep, I sat in the living room with my laptop. I opened her cloud archive and scrolled. It felt like peeling away wallpaper and finding mold underneath. Quiet, unsettling, impossible to ignore. There were screenshots that didn't match anything on her phone, deleted messages between her and Aaron, entire threads removed from her device but preserved here. Lines like, "Same room tomorrow? Still thinking about your perfume. You make the hours fly." One message from her read, "Last night was worth the lies." I didn't react, not out loud. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark until the clock hit 2 a.m. When I finally stood, I knew two things clearly. First, I was done giving her the benefit of the doubt. Second, if I confronted her now, she would talk circles until she twisted it back on me. I needed proof no one could explain away. And her birthday, 2 weeks away, gave me the perfect stage. I met Cameron 2 days later. We hadn't talked in years, not since college, but he'd built a solid reputation as a private investigator. I sent him a short message, nothing detailed, just, "I need your help. It's personal." We met at a quiet cafe near the river. "What's going on?" he asked as soon as he sat down. I handed him a folder with printed screenshots, messages pulled from the cloud. He flipped through them slowly, his eyebrow lifting slightly at the more incriminating lines. He didn't ask unnecessary questions. He just said, "All right, how far do you want to take this?" "I want certainty," I replied. Actual evidence, not guesses, not arguments. "Give me a week," he said. "Maybe less." And he meant it. Cameron started immediately. Lindsay thought I'd softened, especially when I suggested we order takeout and watch a movie that night. She curled up beside me like we hadn't been drifting for months. Her sudden warmth didn't move me. It only confirmed how easy lying had become for her. The next afternoon, Cameron sent the first update, a single photo. Lindsay leaving her office at 4:10 p.m., even though she told me she'd be working until 7. The day after, another message. This time, a short video. Lindsay walking into a bar downtown. A man joined her 20 minutes later. Aaron. They sat close. Too close. Their body language said everything they hadn't texted. Cameron called later that night. "They went from the bar straight to a hotel," he said. "Checked in under separate names, met at the elevator. I have photos. I'll send them." "Good," I said quietly. "Keep going." By day 5, the case was airtight. Cameron documented them leaving the hotel together, Lindsay straightening her hair in the reflection of a parked car, Aaron tucking in his shirt. I watched every clip alone in the living room, headphones in, the house silent. No yelling, no breaking things, no pacing. Just clarity. Cameron called again. "This is a full affair, John. Ongoing. Repeated." "I know," I said. "Now we finish it." Lindsay's birthday was coming up, and she mentioned it the same way someone mentions bad weather. Quick, distant, hoping it passes unnoticed. "Don't plan anything big," she said one morning while packing her bag. "I'll probably have to stay late that day. New project deadlines." I looked at her over my coffee. "No problem," I said. "We'll keep it simple." She smiled like she'd won something. That was all I needed. Over the next few days, I laid everything out. No theatrics, no chaos, just a clean, controlled reveal she could never twist into a misunderstanding. First, I booked a private dining room at a small restaurant her family loved. Then I called her parents, Thomas and Ellen. "I want to do something special for her," I told them. "She's been stressed lately. A surprise dinner might lift her spirits." Ellen sounded touched. "John, that's thoughtful. She'll love it." Thomas added, "We'll be there. Tell us the time." Next, I called her sister Chloe and 2 mutual friends, Megan and Jason. Everyone accepted immediately. No one suspected a thing. But the most important conversation happened with Hannah, Aaron's wife. I found her profile online. Family photos, 2 kids, vacations, nothing unusual. I sent her a short message. "I think our spouses are involved. I have proof. Can we talk?" She agreed to meet the next afternoon at a quiet park. When I showed her Cameron's evidence, she didn't cry or shout. She just closed her eyes and breathed slowly. "How long?" she asked. "A few months at least," I answered. She nodded once, almost mechanical. After a long pause, she said, "Tell me what you need from me." "I want you at the dinner," I told her. "You won't have to say much. Your presence will speak for itself." She agreed. By the end of that week, every detail was locked in. A perfect surprise, delivered on the one day Lindsay would least expect it. On her birthday, she thought she had the night free for whatever lie she planned. She had no idea I'd already arranged the moment that would end everything. On the night of her birthday, Lindsay stepped out of the bedroom wearing a navy dress I hadn't seen in years. The same one she wore in Cameron's hotel photos. She looked polished, excited. Too excited for someone who supposedly planned to catch up on work afterward. "You look great," I said. She smiled. "Thanks. Where are we going?" "Just dinner. Low-key. You'll like it." She didn't ask questions. That told me everything. We arrived at the restaurant around 7. I walked her down the hallway toward the private room. She thought it was a table for 2 night. When I opened the door, a small crowd jumped up. "Surprise!" Her parents, her sister Megan and Jason all stood around a table decorated with a single cake and a few balloons. Lindsay froze at the doorway. Her smile flickered, then returned in a forced form. "Oh my God! Wow! I didn't expect... This is..." She tried to sound pleased, but her voice stumbled. Everyone hugged her. Ellen handed her a small wrapped box. Thomas gave her a warm pat on the shoulder. Chloe took pictures. Jason cracked a joke. The whole room felt bright. I pulled out her chair. "Happy birthday, Lindsay." She sat down slowly, still caught off guard. For a while, the dinner went smoothly. Plates arrived, glasses clinked. The conversation flowed. Lindsay laughed a little too loud. drank a little too fast. Halfway through the meal, I tapped my glass. "If I could get everyone's attention for a moment," I said. The room quieted. Lindsay looked up, confused. "I want to say something," I continued, "about truth and timing." I took the tablet from my jacket and connected it to the small screen mounted to the wall. Photos appeared instantly. Lindsay walking into the hotel with Aaron, leaving hours later, adjusting her hair in the reflection of a car window. The room fell silent, utterly silent. Ellen gasped. Thomas stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. Chloe covered her mouth. Lindsay's voice cracked. "John, stop. Please turn that off. This isn't—" Before she could finish, the door opened. Hannah stepped inside. "I'm Aaron's wife," she said quietly. Lindsay's face collapsed. Her breathing hitched. She reached for my arm. "John, please, don't do this here." I stepped back. "I'm not doing anything," I said. "You did." And then the room erupted. The moment I stepped out of that room, I felt the noise collapse behind me. Lindsay's family shouting, Hannah confronting someone on her phone. I walked down the hallway, through the lobby, and out into the parking lot. I didn't look back. That night, I moved into a short-term rental across town. I took a backpack, a few clothes, and my documents. Nothing else. I didn't want reminders. I didn't want explanations. I wanted distance. Lindsay started calling before I even finished unpacking. I let the phone ring until it stopped. She tried again. 10 calls, then messages. "We need to talk. John, please answer. Let me explain." The next morning she showed up at the apartment building. I opened the door but didn't let her inside. Her eyes were red, makeup smeared. "Please listen to me," she said. "It wasn't serious. It just happened." I kept my voice steady. "It happened a lot." She flinched. I know I ruined everything. But we can fix this. I'll quit my job. I'll block him. Lindsay," I said, "I'm not interested in repairs. I'm done." She shook her head like she didn't hear me. "You blindsided me. Why would you do that in front of everyone? You earned that moment long before I planned it." She stepped back, covering her mouth. I closed the door. She didn't knock again. Over the next week, her life fell apart fast. Her parents stopped defending her. Thomas left me a voicemail, apologizing for her choices. Ellen cried every time Lindsay tried to explain herself. Chloe barely spoke to her. At work, HR called her in. Someone reported her relationship with Aaron. She denied it at first, but the truth caught up. Rumors spread. Opportunities dried up. Aaron didn't stick around either. Word got out that Hannah confronted him with the evidence I shared. He packed up and transferred to another branch in a different state. He didn't say goodbye to Lindsay. Meanwhile, I hired a lawyer. The divorce moved quickly. The evidence left no room for negotiation. She cried through half the meetings, but I stayed focused. When the judge finalized everything, Lindsay looked at me one last time and whispered, "I never thought you'd leave." I nodded. That was the mistake. I walked out of the courthouse feeling not triumphant, not angry, just free. 3 months passed before Lindsay asked to meet in person. She sent one short message, just one conversation, no excuses, no drama. "I need to say something." I agreed, mostly out of curiosity, not hope. We met at a cafe, the same place we used to visit on Sundays when life felt simple. I arrived first and waited by the window. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. She looked smaller, drained, like someone carrying too many sleepless nights. She sat down slowly. "Thank you for coming." I nodded. "Say what you need to." Lindsay took a breath, her hands shaking faintly. "I'm not asking for anything back. I know that part is over. I need you to know I'm sorry, and not in the way I said before. This time, I mean it." I stayed quiet. She continued, voice steady but fragile. "I destroyed a marriage that you were still trying to protect. I lied because I thought lies were easier than honesty. I blamed you to avoid blaming myself. And when you exposed everything, I hated you for it. But now I know you didn't embarrass me. You revealed what I'd become." I watched her for a moment. "Why now?" "Because I've had time to sit with it," she said. "Thomas barely talks to me. My mother cries whenever she sees me. My sister said she needed distance and work." She shook her head. "Everyone knows. I'm transferring to a smaller department. Rumors follow me everywhere." She looked up, eyes tired. I know I can't undo any of it, but I didn't want silence to be the last thing between us. I leaned back in my chair. I don't hate you, Lindsay. I'm not angry anymore. But forgiveness isn't the same as trust. And trust isn't something you rebuild with an apology. A tear slipped down her cheek, but she didn't break. I understand. I hope you figure things out, I said. Truly. She nodded, stood, and walked out of the cafe without looking back. It was the first decision she'd made all year that felt honest. After she left, I stayed for a while. No knots in my chest, no tension in my shoulders, just quiet. Real closure doesn't feel dramatic. It just feels like breathing normally again. A year after that birthday, I walked past the same restaurant where everything came apart. I didn't plan it. I was heading back from a meeting, turned the corner, and there it was. The doorway, the hallway, the memory. For a second, I stopped on the sidewalk and waited to feel something sharp. Anger, regret, sadness. Nothing came. Just a quiet awareness that I wasn't the same man who walked out of that building 12 months earlier with his marriage burning behind him. I lived in a smaller apartment now, close enough to the river that I could hear water moving at night. My days were simple. Gym in the morning, work, then evenings spent helping out at a support group Cameron introduced me to. Men going through divorces, breakups, betrayal. Some of them came in shattered, some came in angry, most came in lost. I understood all of it. I told parts of my story when it helped, never the dramatic details, just the parts that mattered. How staying calm kept me sane, how making a plan gave me control, how leaving when the truth was undeniable gave me my life back. One night after a meeting, I ran into Emily, a graphic designer who worked in the same building as me. We'd talked briefly in the gym cafe a few times, small conversations, nothing heavy. That night, we walked out together. "You heading home?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Long day." She laughed lightly. "Aren't they all?" We talked for a few blocks. Easy conversation, no pressure. She didn't pry into my past, and I didn't feel the need to prove anything. When we reached the corner where our routes split, she gave a small smile. "See you around, John." "Yeah," I said. "See you." It wasn't a spark or a movie moment. It was something simpler, normal, steady, respectful. And after everything that had happened, normal felt surprisingly good. That night, I stood by my apartment window and looked out at the city lights reflecting on the water. The man who once checked Lindsay's phone in quiet panic now checked nothing except his own direction in life. I realized something standing there. You can't stop someone from betraying you, but you decide who you become afterward. And for the first time in a long time, that thought didn't feel heavy. It felt like freedom. Thank you for watching.